The first season of The Wire is as good an opening season as any television series that I've seen. During The Wire Season 1, we meet the most tragic character in all of the show, and in my opinion, all of television. That character is Wallace, who is played by Michael B. Jordan, which just adds to the tragedy because he is such an amazing actor. Wallace is a teenager who works the low-rises with the Barksdale family. This crew at the low-rises consists of 4 main people: Bodie, Poot, D'Angelo, Barksdale, and of course Wallace. The crew first comes together after D'Angelo beats a murder charge and comes home for the first time. D'Angelo is demoted after this incident and is sent to low-rises. He previously worked at the high-rises, but Stringer thought otherwise when he came home, and I think this was to punk him a little. He takes over for Ronnie Moe, who previously ran the low-rises, but got locked up. With Poot, Bodie, and Wallace already being friends and or associates, he is kind of the odd man out. Things start out ugly for Wallace when he gets burned for fake money. D'Angelo is already not happy and threatens to take him off the money if it happens again. It's already not looking good for our tragic character, and it just kind of sucks.
Hey, yo, ho, ho, ho! Y'all niggas been burnt. Huh? That's what you got to say? Huh? This look like money, motherfucker? Money be green. Money feel like money. That shit look green to you?
But he turns it around. Wallace wisens up and is a solid member of the crew, although he isn't as gangster as the others are. For example, Bodie goes to juvenile detention for knocking a cop into the Shadow Realm, cue the clip, and escapes with his stolen car to come back to work again. Poot, who later does time for drugs and guns, and he also does something along with Bodie that we will get to, but I'm not going to say it yet, but those who know, they know. D'Angelo also murdered someone, so it's safe to say that Wallace is just not as gangster as the rest. But he did beat the one guy that did take the fake money, that gave him the fake money, I should say, and that's kind of gangster within itself, so we'll give credit to Wallace there. D'Angelo also does his best to give advice to the gang when he can, and forms a closer bond to Wallace than Bodie or Poot. D'Angelo is the second most important character. You will hear his name a lot. He also goes by D, so I just want to put that out there. I want to play this example of D'Angelo, aka D, schooling the kids, keeping it real with the crew as he talks about his previous murders.
You was me, your ass still be down there.
You ever seen a city jail, nigga? You ever caught a body? I'm the one who just got home, remember? 8 months over on Eager Street with a body on me, nigga.
Yeah, you got the one.
Yeah, the one you know about. Man, y'all little motherfuckers need to ask around. I don't know why the fuck, but she has a robe, and as she's slipping on her robe, she turns on the light. And you know when she does that, and it's light on the inside, she can't see shit on the outside.
Damn. She naked.
She hears that shit on the window, and she ain't got no choice but to walk over there and see what it is. She steps up, looks out, see where it's coming from.
What happened? He shot him.
The stash house gets robbed, and D takes a lot of shit for it. Stringer makes him withhold pay for a week for his crew because he thinks that there is possibly a rat amongst them. Poot and Wallace later see one of the people who robbed the stash house, and they make the call to D'Angelo so they can move it up the ladder. They also use these things called pagers, but I never used one and don't feel like getting too far into it, but essentially it's a device that will alert you by ring from someone who has that pager's number to essentially get you to call them. Wallace also is the one to point him out, and they eventually kill the person that is pointed out and torture him, and that person's name was Brandon, and he was one of Omar's boys. They also leave Brandon on display for everyone in the neighborhood to see, including Wallace. You can see how Wallace becomes very angry and traumatized because of the brutality of the crime, and it was pretty bad what they did to Brandon. In this episode, in episode 6, we get to see how Wallace lives. He essentially lives in an abandoned house with Poot and a lot of other younger kids that don't have parents as well. Wallace is pretty much the father for these kids, making sure they eat, get up for school, and have school supplies. Dee and Wallace both get paid for their involvement in the hit on Brandon for being the communication to get it done. While all is said and done, Wallace is not too happy about it, as he is still traumatized and shooken up from the incident that occurred. He opens up to Dee about it, and while I'll play some of the conversation here, Dee pretty much just tells him to let it go and not think about it, which is of course hard to do.
Still fucked up behind that stick up, man. Shit ain't on you. It ain't on me neither. Motherfucker who robbed the stash shot Sterling. He gonna get got no matter what you or me do.
I just don't want to play. I just don't want to play no more. All right? I was thinking about going to school over at Edmondson. Asked they'll let me back in at the end of the semester.
What grade?
9th.
9th? Shit, you how old?
16.
16, damn, man. You supposed to be a junior by now.
I heard Stinkum got killed.
Yeah.
Damn. Yo, I said I don't want to play.
I heard you.
Yo, I said I don't want to play.
And you ain't got to do nothing. I heard you.
Dee also opens up to Wallace about some of the personal things that he's been dealing with within the group itself and organization. How he caught 2 of their members thieving and pretty much just let them go instead of telling the other bosses about it, because he knew that if he did tell the other bosses about it, they would pretty much just get beat up and possibly killed over the incident, and he didn't want more blood on the hands of the crew and to handle it himself in a way like that. And Wallace pretty much respects this of Dee, and he respects him for telling him this. After this day, Wallace is pretty much nowhere to be found because he stopped showing up to deal with the crew. Since Poot lives with him, Poot tells Dee that he's pretty much just been laying in his room all day, and that he also asked $10 from Poot possibly to use crack. It's likely that Wallace has some PTSD or depression from this incident, because there's multiple cases where we just see him lying in his room and people coming in to talk to him, but he just wants nothing to do with it. Like I said, I can't really diagnose anyone as I'm not skilled in that, but it's just an observation I have of this incident. Wallace is eventually interviewed by police, and we don't actually get to see the first time he was interviewed by McNulty, but we do get to see the second time he's interviewed, and it is Detective McNulty, aka Jimmy McNulty, obviously, and Cedric Daniels, aka Lieutenant Daniels, who is pretty much working this whole case. Pretty much Wallace gives it all up and everything of what happens, and they pretty much get one of the key players involved, Stringer Bell, obviously someone that they want to take down and someone who McNulty has a personal grudge against. Since they want to use Wallace in the case to testify against Stringer and the rest of the crew, they want to keep Wallace in a safe space. However, we learn that his mother is an alcoholic during this phase, where obviously he can't really stay with her, so they send him to his grandma's, who is on the eastern shore of Maryland. Wallace is eventually gone for, I would like to say, probably around a week during the show's time frame, but it's really hard to judge, and this obviously causes some suspicions for Stringer and some of the other crew members being around. After the main stash is raided in the previous episode, Stringer goes to the pit to get everyone new cell phones and numbers to call. While down there, he notices Wallace being gone, and Avon, Dee, and Stringer all talk about it, and this is a conversation that takes place.
What would y'all need him for?
What's it to you?
You ain't gotta worry about him.
Say what?
He's gone. He's out the game.
Out the game? Yo, the man asked you a simple question.
Look, I don't mean y'all no disrespect. You know I don't. But I'm sitting here telling you that the boy is out the game. And even if he wasn't out the game, he wouldn't be no problem.
Well, you know we just want to talk to him, D.
Avon. Let the boy be.
As you can tell, D'Angelo simply tells Avon and Stringer that Wallace is out the game and he is of no worry at all. However, it seemed like they weren't satisfied with his response, A bit later in the same episode, Wallace soon comes home unannounced from being down at the shore with his grandma. This further complicates things for Wallace, even though he does not realize it. D'Angelo has to pull him aside when he gets back and let him know how things are, even though he can't really protect him in a way that he thought he could, or at least that he thought at the time when he brought him back in. This little clip here shows a little bit of their conversation and what transpires. I also had this clip in my best quotes of season 1 of The Wire. If you haven't seen that, I suggest you check it out, and I will link it down below in the description.
I'm saying, this here game, it ain't gonna work for you no more, man. You leaving, you stirred up some shit. You know what I'm saying? It ain't your fault or nothing.
Yo, D, look, I appreciate what you're trying to say and all, but I grew up in the courts, all right? I've been with them niggas since shit forever. I guess it's a home, right?
You ain't hearing me, Wallace. You ain't hearing me. If anybody asks you whether you're in this game, you tell them you're in it for life. All right? You play it hard, you play it tight, and you make sure niggas know you're gonna stand by your people. No loose talk, no second thoughts, and no snitching. Play it like that.
Should be mentioned that D'Angelo has no idea that Wallace went to the police and snitched out the whole operation of what went down with Brandon. But either way, D'Angelo has still been true to Wallace no matter what, and has been a good influence on him, unlike anyone else in his life. After their conversation, Wallace is officially put back on the money instead of being demoted to lookout, thanks to D'Angelo. Yeah, episode 12, I should have mentioned a little earlier. This is the episode that everything really goes down. It is the second to last episode in season 1. Stringer and Bodie have a conversation in his car, and Stringer pretty much gives him all the hints in the world that he wants Wallace dead. Since the show is shot in a way that you only know so much and that other characters don't know what is going on ahead of time, the police are also looking for Wallace because they need him to testify in the case. But at this time, Poot and Bodie go to talk about this situation, and he pretty much says to Poot that we either have to step up or step down, and this is pretty much their justification for doing Wallace. So before killing Wallace, they decide to go out to lunch one last time as the gang, with just Bodie, Poot, and Wallace, of course. After they come back for lunch, they go back to the vacant apartment that they have been living in, well, at least Poot and Wallace have been living in. And since there are usually kids there, there are none, and this just throws Wallace off. And then we get to see the final conversation that takes place, and it's just very sad, and I will probably not play all of it.
Man, you's a weak-ass nigga, man. You should have stayed down in the country, man.
Yo, I'm my niggas, yo.
You fucking brought this on yourself, man.
We boys.
You brought this on yourself.
Ain't gotta be like this, yo. We be niggas, man. BC, remember that?
Bodie tells himself just whatever he wants to justify the situation and shoots him once after Poot pretty much says just go ahead and do it. And then Bodie passes Poot the gun, and Poot shoots him as well to put him out. This is where it all ends for Wallace, so tragically, where his two friends end up killing him because of the game. Even though Wallace is dead, the police are still looking for him, and they end up at his mother's house, where we get to see how horrible of a mother she is. This is also the scene directly after her son Wallace dies, of course. Yeah, this is quite the way to do it, HBO. Just hit you one blow after another. It's not really fun to take. The aftermath of the situation still had consequences on some of the characters later on, such as D'Angelo, where he does not back Stringer after he learns that Wallace was killed, and that Stringer obviously had something to do with it, and possibly Avon as well. This ultimately leads to Stringer getting killed, as this is one of the decisions that led Avon to give up Stringer. He eventually has D'Angelo killed while in prison, and to end, obviously, episode 12 where Wallace dies. Before cutting off to the end outro, they show the pit one last time, but this time it is empty and sad face. Please, everyone down in the comments, I want to know what you guys think. If you liked the video, please leave it a like and subscribe. I think Wallace was just tragically killed, and while you can make the argument that he was in the game and he knew what he got himself into, you never really know what it's like until you are actually in those situations and you see something like a dead body for the first time, especially since it was something that was done in such a horrific way that left pretty much scars on him for the rest of his life, or the rest of his life that he had, and something that he thought about daily. But like I said, let me know, do you like these styles of videos, and what type of videos should I do next? Leave it in the comments. Have a great day.